every athlete, every person, every human being has an opportunity. Some opportunities don't come when you want them. But if you're prepared, good opportunities can happen. Always be ready, because you never know when your number is gonna get called.
I'm not coming back.
Emmy Apparel. Encourage me. I'm young.
Calvin T. Mann, leading Emmy, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to EMIYTV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to EMIYTV Put Your Family First podcast. Today has been an incredible day so far, right? We are in it. We're here. We're glad to be in the building. Hello, guys. Hello, everyone. Don't speak at the same time. I don't know who I'm in the room with, but right. And I just looking at today has been a very interesting day, and a lot of people are going to learn some new information. It's amazing that when you look at something from the outside, but you don't know what really is on, so it's normal for you to name it what you think it really is. And then you come to find out it's none of what you think it is. And so you have to be defensive about those things and saying what you would do, but you're not in that position, because you're not dealing with that position, right? And so the same thing with marriages. We oftentimes get into conversations about marriages and how they should, function, or how do they survive. Last week we talked about marriages. This week we're going to talk about marriages and Christmas, right? Because this is a good time where relationships break up. It's actually a normal thing. During Christmas and November, holiday season, marriages fall completely apart, right? They become materialistic reasons, it's financial reasons, it's all these things that, are involved. But marriage, on this side of the conversation today, is what we're going to do, right, and to give for marriages to be healthy. The conversation has to become about what we need. If we're saying put your family first, we got to have the skill set to endure. Enduring a relationship is a skill set, just like getting out of a relationship just because you feel a certain way. See, we have a high dependency on the word feel. I feel that I no longer want to do this, and I make this decision, and it's beneficial to you. And so we're exiting marriages to get out here, right? And of course, for me, social media plays a huge impact. I would be willing to bet today that social media is destroying at least 35% of marriages. I'd be willing to put money up against that bet. I'll take that bet anytime you want, because I recognize that people want this attention. People say this is and this is who I am, and this is what, right? And so we're going to get into this, before we do, Dr. Heather.
Good day, good people.
Good day.
Yeah, well, I'm absolutely happy to be here. Three of my favorite people in the same room, so I'm excited about this conversation around marriage and navigating the holiday season.
Yes. Brother Day?
Yeah, I'm glad this is a good topic, because like you said, there's so many misconceptions about communication, and it definitely can become a challenge, especially in the holiday season.
Ms. Mo?
Hi, Yes, it's a great conversation.
So,
Veteran in the room.
right. Someone we all can learn from, right? So, Ms. Heather, you want to start this?
Oh, yes, of course. So, I like to frame this conversation today, starting with some tips from, actually, it's called the Gottman Institute. And it really talks about things that we can do. Now, some of these things, of course, are common sense. Some of these things that people are already doing, but it is never too late to reiterate and to remember that sometimes the holidays can trigger us in relationships. And so, even looking in our backstory, so some of the expectations that we had as children, sometimes we didn't mature those ideas and move them from our childhood expectations now into our adult expectations. And being able to communicate that clearly with your partner, and or being able to release the expectation because it no longer serves you. And I think some of the tips that they are sharing are going to be really helpful for a lot of couples. So we're talking about marriage because we know that marriage is one of the ways that we can heal and restore families. And the healthier the marriage, the healthier the family, the healthier the children and the generations to come. So we want to make sure that we're imprinting the proper information on the DNA of our children so that we're doing it better, gives our children an opportunity to do it better too. So I'm excited about having this conversation. A couple of things I wanted to share that I thought made really good sense. So these are some of their bullet points. So I'm going to start off with this list first, and we can discuss it as we go too. So one, which I thought was an excellent recommendation, is to list all of your urgent chores, responsibilities that are going to require your attention. And so for some people, you know, they have if you're having guests over, maybe it's a big house cleaning or decorating time for you. So it's best to write those things down so everybody is on board with that expectation. So I know in our household, we do decorating, and that's, once I pull the decorations out, I turn it over to the men, I explain what I'm expecting, and the men take it over. So they do a lot of the decorations, a lot of the lifting and the pinning, and so I that's one of the expectations that we have established in our household, that during the holiday season, this is where I am. This is my expectation because I want it to be festive. I want to get up. I want to listen to holiday music. I want to listen and watch uplifting things. And my request is a reduction on social media. We already have a family night where when we're engaged in our family activity that you're not supposed to have your cell phones out or things like that, or other distractions, where we can focus in just on our family time. So sometimes that works perfectly 100%, not all the time, but it's a work in progress. And we have every Wednesday that we have together to do that. So that's kind of one of the ways I think that these tips, especially around making a list of the things that you have to do, want to do, expect to do, and that you make sure that everybody contributes to that list.
Well, when you include everybody and you sit everybody down, it's part of the happiness factor. All right? And what's your contribution? It's like a team. We're getting ready to go when you include everybody. I'm usually the Grinch. Right. And so I have to be cheered in, right? Because I'm always trying to think of something that doesn't have nothing to do with Christmas, right? And so because everybody is so excited, the whole nine, I'm the reluctant participant, but I've gotten better in the process of, reluctancy, right? But I think that's important to, when you evaluate the list as family, I think that's an important piece. Brother Dave?
Yeah, I think the level of communication on that is important, and each person come from different backgrounds, so their way of viewing Christmas is different. So especially when you get into marriage, so it's important that you relate how you see things. As she said, you got Heather has a holiday to-do list, and then she expects you to do it. Well, you just said, you're the grant, so you got a different perspective. So it's important that you relate those two views and come to some happy medium so you can have happiness on Christmas Day versus building up that argumentative kind of mindset.
So what is your next one? Because what I really like to get into as we're getting into this, when it's you're talking about your relationships, I really like to get into some healthy pieces for the relationship. So proceed.
Okay, so let's see. One of the other ones I thought was really helpful is to be clear about how you manage stress during this season as well. And so if you have been giving attention to the time of the year for your spouse especially, maybe there are grief issues that are still underneath the surface. They may not be resolved because for both of us, we have lost a parent or grandparents. And so realizing that in my backstory, that family gatherings that included everybody, my dad being there or grandparents, and traditions that we have in our family, that those things make it extra important for me, but it may also make it a little more sad for my spouse who has lost his parents. And so I'm really sensitive to the fact that that those relationships are important and can trigger that grief during this holiday season. So one of the things that we do in our household, we have a ancestor board, and on that board is all of our, or not all, but the majority of our family members, those who have meant a lot in our journey. So parents, grandparents, loved ones, godparents, aunts and uncles, friends that may have made their transition are represented on our ancestor board. So during this time, it's a time to highlight and reflect. We actually talk about those things. We talk about those people and what they mean to us and honor them, because, and different people are in different spaces when it comes to grief and loss and loved ones that are no longer with us. But for me, I connect spiritually with those people who I love. I recognize that they may not be here physically where you can see them in the same way that you do, but the memories that you have and feeling their presence and those things that you remember is another way to honor them and connect with them. So it lessens that distance, and it gives you a sense of joy to remember those things that are good. But also I understand it still is that sadness that they're no longer with us. But so in our household, we talk about it. We honor them. We share those memories. We also have photo albums and videos and all these amazing things that we can use to remember them. And I think that's honoring them at the same time. And so the closer we get to the season of Kwanzaa, they're that much more involved in that process, because I believe that as we honor those who are, and if you follow Kwanzaa or practice Kwanzaa principles, it is always about our past, our present, and our future. And so we do things in our household and our families to make sure that we represent that and stay connected.
So another thing you have down here is read the list together. Talk about each other's perception on holiday responsibilities. Were handled in the past, how they were handled in the past, and discuss how you would like to approach them this year. What do you and your family do, Dave?
Well, unfortunately, my parents are gone to grandparents, so usually we get together and we do the same. We reminisce on, the experience we have and had with our parents and some of the funny things they would say or do and events that happened that stood out. One event was my grandfather who had lost his teeth, but he liked to drink. And so this particular day he had some false teeth. and the teeth fell out. And as he was steady trying to reach for the teeth looked like they were moving because he kept kicking it because he was drunk, you see. And so it was a hilarious moment. And when he finally got him, he said, "Yeah, I'm like Ford. I got a better idea. I captured my teeth." So so we reminisce on that, and we just give thanks for the experiences we had, And when they were here, we did the same for those two who had transitioned home. So we kind of on the same page.
I think in this time, because of the way things are and the way things have come across, I think in this time, this is the time where families who have lost needs to be recreating new traditions. Right, in your relationships where you're there are no longer no children in the home. It's just you and your spouse. You've gotten to the place where it's just you and your spouse. So the benefits is more than just walking around the house naked. What are the other things that you should be doing, right, and creating a new tradition in that relationship? I recognize a lot of times we have this mindset where we cling to the negative. We make it about the loss. So we kind of stay in that area, right? And so I remember, what do you do for Christmas? Well, Christmas, buy a humbug. My mom gone, right? Buy a humbug. Well, that wasn't really the case. It was an excuse to create a negative atmosphere for myself, right? And that will linger on. So instead of allowing that to be that, let's create or follow some new traditions. So being open, because I live with Happy Alice. You know what I mean? And so is happy, happy, go, happy, happy, go. Right? And so where you have to understand that that's who they are. And this is a great point about relationships that I think a lot of people need to pay attention to. This right here. With or without me, she's happy. She didn't need me for Christmas. Her Christmas was going to be happy regardless. And this is what people need to understand in relationships, that in relationships, everything is just, you have to be satisfied and happy with yourself. So even if your partner or whoever is in the position that they're in, you still have to be who you are. And that's a big thing that somehow, because I'm the Debbie Downer of the group, that I'm supposed to bring everybody down. That's not the case at all. And that's just something that we have to understand as Doubtful Dan or whoever I am at the time. Right? It's not your responsibility to bring everybody else down. So I'm good at saying, go get them, baby. Go ahead. You know what I mean? And if I'm not in that space, I'm good at that, because it's important that might be a moment for me. But again, we put too much pressure on each other for the relationship to be predicated. Just because you're with me, you got to roll with me. And that's not fair to the relationship.
Right. I mean, and it also gives you room. It gives you room to understand the other person. And so I appreciate that my husband can shift, that he can say, you know what, give me a minute. And I can ask, do you need some time? And I can go and do something, be productive some other space. But I can also just be there and be supportive, because I am affectionate. So that matters to me, to be able to comfort him in that space too. So I may not just leave him. I might choose to do something different, like, okay, well, what can we do? How can I help you through this space? And so whatever that might be, maybe it's a shoulder rub, maybe it's just being there, maybe it's just getting some, I particularly prefer tea, but sometimes it may be a Truly. Some people like the tropical fruit Truly. But maybe it's that that moment of just supporting. But being okay with getting out of the way, if it's too much, it's okay to get out of the way. It's okay to give space, and it's okay to just be silent. It's okay to be in that space too, so that you're paying attention and you're learning and you're growing in the process. That's part, for me, that's part of how we continue to grow our relationship. Being able to understand if you're in a space or in a moment, give the person that moment. Not get all mad and frustrated because, well, you know we're supposed to be doing this. That may not be what is called for at the time or what's needed most. You have to be able to be flexible and pay attention. Give attention to the other person's needs, not just your own.
Dave?
Yeah, it's interesting you said that, because yesterday we were discussing with the boys about self-awareness and being confident within themselves and understanding who they are. And just based on what you said, Heather, Dr. Heather, it's important to understand who you are. And most of us don't go in relationships with that kind of clarity. But the main thing that a relationship should have is an environment of trust, a safe place. And that sometimes is lacking because people are so self-consumed with their own idealisms that they lose sight that if you take on another person, they're going to come with theirs. And somewhere in that midst of interaction in your relationship, you should sit down and have that conversation in relation to what's important to you, what's important to me, who am I, and who are you. We kind of take a lot of things for granted, as I assume I know you, but in reality, I don't know you. And so when these festivities come up, such as the holidays, a lot of things become very confusing because you don't have these discussions way in advance. As one person said, it's better be prepared for a situation and not have it than have a situation and not be prepared. So communication is so essential for each individual to sit down and talk about who are you. And as you said, Heather, you observe him, you pay attention to him, you acknowledge him. That says you're invested in him. And when you're invested in someone, you do what you need to do to present yourself in a way of letting them know that they care. As Aretha Franklin says, I close on this, give them something they can feel.
Yeah, there's that word, feel, right? It's pretty important for us to understand that. So, Ms. Monique, you being the senior in the room on happiness, right? Right. Marital bliss, right? Like, what is the one pointer that you could share that you see a lot of people don't do during the holidays?
Well, I think probably one of the main things that I see that they don't do is just remember what's important. You know, everything becomes about, okay, what you get me, and you know, and the commercialization of the holiday. It's not, people forget about the family, you know, aspect of it, and you know what's the real meaning of the holiday. I think that's the main thing. It's just like, you know, people get upset because they didn't get this or they didn't do the, you know, get that or whatever. But you know, they forget what the real meaning of the holiday is.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's important to share, because a lot of times when we're talking about the importance of anything culturally, we witness today culturally the norm for the culture is to always be in attack mode against the culture. So the norm for relationships is he's always the one that's wrong and she's always unaccountable. The norm for happiness is I'm most definitely dependent on you as much as I don't want you to be dependent on me. These are all destructive pieces to marriage. And understanding what you're saying is, in your household, you could be sitting around, and I've seen this, right? And this is the one thing that, you know, I share to when it comes to family. This is a family thing. It's not materialistic. Everybody in Dr. Heather's family is going to get something. It's not you're not about to get, that Bentley. You're not about to get the Bellagio, right? But you're going to get something. But what you're going to get also is family. In my family, we are literally at the whole cracking jokes in the text messages, right? What y'all doing? Look at the kids, right? This is our communication. Me, my brothers, my sisters, right? Merry Christmas. Your dig is gonna be in the text message. Yes, it's gonna be from my sister Heidi. My sister Sue gonna crack jokes, right? And my brothers, and then my brother Colum being the oldest, he just gonna act. He ain't got much to say. Right, Merry Christmas, and then if you get them on the phone, that's a different. I'm okay, you know what I mean. But we grew up different. We grew up where coming together as a family was the thing, right? Because there were no gifts like that, and so when you got to get your gifts out of a plastic bag from Focus Hope, you know what I mean, like, and you got the little plastic toy. Sword or whatever the case may be, our appreciation became jokes and fun, right? And so then we would go to the family where my Aunt Nez and them, but see, when my Aunt Nez and them, and here's another point to that whole piece, as long as my Aunt Nez and Uncle Dwayne was together, the house, we was always there. All the families come through the whole nine. As soon as they split up, that took that one thing out of the family. You see? So now the family, where we was getting together and everybody's there. I'm talking everybody. At least 60 of us. Because I got a huge family. It runs deeper than water. And that was gone. Right? So at this time, that's what I mean by these tips of being good to one another, right? And that's where I'd like to take the rest of this process, right? Where can we be good to one another, Dr. Heather?
So, I think when I think of a marriage, I think about the covenant that relationship is under, meaning that you're not doing this alone. Like, you go to your source because your source put a covenant, made a covenant, or you made a covenant with our source. So I made a covenant with God to be a wife to my husband. That is an agreement that he made to me, I made to him, and we did that in front of witnesses. I know Dave and I had this conversation about the witnesses too, but how important that really is to know that in your marriage, although you are the two major decision makers, there are people who have examples of a strong marriage, our Moniques, right? The ones that have 20 plus years where they have gone through, they have children, they have parents, older parents, like all the different challenges that relationships face. In your network, in your circle of witnesses should be those people who are navigating those spaces too, who have the wisdom, who have the experience, and who have the love and the obligation to help you navigate those difficult spaces. So if it's new and you don't know what to do, my first, and anybody who's heard me say this, my first challenge is to say, God, show me my stuff, get your boy. And when I say that, I mean that. I was like, you ordained this covenant. So that means I'm coming to you because I need help. So I need help first. I got to get it for me. Regardless of what the situation is, I never say that I am not at fault. I got a part in there somewhere, even if my part is just being a trigger, even if my part is ignorance, even if my part is accidental, even if my part is unspoken expectation, whatever that is, I know I have a part in it. I know it's not all him. So I might be mad or maybe upset or discouraged or whatever that emotion that I might be feeling, but I also know that this is only where I am in this moment, in this time. I'm not going to stay here. And I think when we talk about relationships too, that sometimes it feels like this is where it's going to be forever, like beyond this moment. So you say those final kind of words and you have that final kind of comment, the things that you know, it's very difficult to take back, to unsee and unhear, right? So we have to be mindful that you have a source. That is the point of the covenant. So that you don't have to do that alone. And then those who have experience, there's always somebody to go to. There's always a go-to. And in your body of witnesses, that's the obligation that they make standing there as witnesses.
Yeah, good luck with that one. So
you don't have witnesses, or you don't have a covenant just protecting?
No, I mean, I'm all good with all of that, but the witnesses, right? They be in another space sometimes when you go to them.
Wisdom,
right,
though. That's
right.
what I'm speaking to.
So one thing, Dave, that a couple can do right now that is fulfilling.
That is what?
Fulfilling. That's good. One thing.
Spend quality time with each other. Cut TV off. Cut phone off. But children, if they're little children in their rooms, don't have to go to bed. But spend that quality time with one another and get to know each other. As I listen to Heather unfold some things, she first takes responsibility of her awareness of who she is and what's going on with her. And that's essential, because if you go in always pointing the finger at somebody else, you never entertain yourself. So being able to center two people come together and on a holiday, you know, everybody's going to bed, if you will, and you sit down and you talk and you spend that quality time and you talk about subjects. One of the things is I'm listening to these conversations and just happen y'all to be couple and our sister here is married, is that quality time generates a connection of bondness. It generates a connection of intimacy, which is what God tells us to do with Him. Get rid of all your distractions and focus on me. So when couples sit down and get together and focus on each other, there's a bonding, there's a development, there's a connection that gets solidified because you're spending that quality time. So I think the first thing that couples should do is spend that quality time with one another.
Monique, give me one thing couples should do for the good this holiday season.
Yes, I think that they should just laugh and enjoy each other and do something, you know, fun and different. You know, like you say, make new traditions. That's the main thing.
Laughter is good.
Yes.
That's the one thing I've been talking about Thursday after the event. I laughed so hard that I was in tears. And it took me back. That was one of the best laughs I had, probably the best laugh I had this year. Heather, one thing that couples should do for the good.
I like the idea of creating new traditions. So that's something that you can look forward to. That's something that you can look back at. That's something that kind of anchors you in a space of memory and of connectedness. So yeah, create those new traditions. Maybe it's barbecuing. So my tradition now for Thanksgiving is barbecue over turkey. I like barbecue, and so I have a husband that can grill, so we put in the work, and he had no problem with
You went from being C-man to Q-man, huh? That Q-dog on them grill, man.
Yes, absolutely. So that was a new tradition. I mean, I can make turkey all day, but to be honest, everybody makes turkey, so I'm going to get some from somewhere. But to have the barbecue, which is really what I like, he knows that I like that too. So it's his give and contribution to that holiday meal. That is a labor, definitely. If you made the holiday meals, you know how much a labor of love that is.
So for me, my suggestion is bundle up and take a walk in the winter. And the reason why I say that, when you walk in fresh air, it does something to your endorphins, especially when you gotta walk with someone you care about. In some cases, you could be out there with your son. In other cases, it's important you can be out there with your wife. It's cold, but we're taking a walk, right? And having that experience, which we're going to do this year, having that experience taking that walk in the winter and the weather and it's cold, right? And then experiencing that together. See, those are the things that is needed to mesh the spirit together. Dave talked about time. You talked about laughter. You talked about new traditions. The walk is the thing that meshes the spirit together. You have a lot of division, and so this is why my target was for the good. These are things that will make it good. So when you come out of the cold, all right, after this walk or whatever, she might want some cocoa.
White chocolate.
Right? She might want some sugar. Right? She might want some loving. But coming out of that walk, the endorphins in our spirit and everything else is lifted. So it kind of fixes the laughter, because you're going to giggle because you're cold, the time, because you're together on the walk, the new tradition, because it's something you have not done, right? It puts it all together and meshes the spirit. Our culture and people, we do way less in the meshing of the spirit. The bringing, the cultivating, the reassuring. We get into these places and spaces where we're not encouraging our mate. We're not saying nice things to our mate, right? Because materialism, what I want, I'm liking like a kid, and then the mate, not valuing the mate. And when we don't value each other, we teach the children not to value each other. And we grow up to sit up and say what men don't do and what women don't do, while the prosperity of other cultures are raised from the very things that we speak, the limitation that we don't do. I don't do that. I don't do that. Come on, let's take a walk. What? I don't do that. You miss me with all of that. I'm not going out there like that, so and so and so. See? Right? And somebody swoops in and literally swoop in and has a place in the vacant spot you left in your relationship. We lack the meshing of the spirit in our relationships on little things. Add to that, doctor.
Well, the thought that was coming to my mind is that I don't think people kiss enough. I think we should have many more kisses.
Yes.
Between couples, and
yes,
it should be something that your children see. They should see you kiss. They should see you hug and embrace.
Yes.
And being loving toward one another, because
yes,
again, it's something else that we're teaching, that in this marriage relationship, that this is the place where you get to experience this and enjoy it. And I mean, and not overly sexual, where our kids are already overly sexualized from what we're showing them on social media, what's in the movies, what's on commercials even.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily in loving, connected ways in the safety of a marriage.
Right.
And something that you look forward to getting married, to have that person that you can kiss and embrace and have in your life in that intimate way that's not overly sexual.
I concur that it's important to be able to show affection to one another. And because it doesn't have to be in a bedroom, to show someone that you care, that you have a passion for them, a desire for them, to want them. You know, many times it's been men are visual, women are emotional. I agree and disagree. because, it works both ways because you're a human being and God designed you that way. So it should be equally as important for a man to show his emotions, his affection to his wife and vice versa. And it should be an easy peasy thing that they do. But unfortunately, because we create these pseudo images of being hard and tough, and I'm not just saying that for men. In this day and age, women are equally as tough and hard, and maybe even harder. Because when I go back to the movies, it was back in the 1900s. Some of them women are pretty tough and hardcore too. Especially you look at them westerns. So you start to realize that this is a human thing, and we should all learn to show our feelings to someone so they can experience it. Because as he said, there's a clean up woman, a clean up man, always willing to fill in that space. And he said, well, how did they get that person? Because those little things you thought wasn't important. And I'm going to wrap on this with Calvin made the statement about going out and walk. Every day I walk in this park, well, quite a few parks, but there's one particular one. And it was so beautiful, it was so refreshing. And I thought to myself, what a beautiful experience for a woman to see with me this park. All the different scenes in the woods and the trees and the animals and yada, yada. So these quality, intimate moments help people to build a stronger bond in their relationship. Because there will come a time, and you have it, you won't be able to go in that bedroom and perform at that same level that you did back in the day when you were 20. So those kisses and hugs, those kisses and hugs, they're going to be the difference that make a difference on the bond that you have in your relationship.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, how are you?
I'm super, brother. What's happening?
That's good. This is Chef Wilson.
What's happening?
Hey, Chef.
Oh, you got it. I was just listening to the show, and I was listening to what you were talking about for the walks outside.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in that. If I have somebody in my life, I will do it. But I did it with my children. Mm-hmm. And one thing you said that touched me, in our community with our people, we follow trends which are short-lived. Right?
Right.
So things of what you were talking about turn into traditions which can last a lifetime. And they see the soul better than a trend. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and when I look at our community, we follow trends. We're setting trends, but we're not setting tradition down to our legacy.
Yeah.
That lasts a lifetime. That's more meaningful, like you said, to the soul.
Yeah. These are things that we miss, right? Because we label them. Racism has allowed us to label things as negative.
Mm-hmm.
You see, we'll label those things. That stuff white people do, right? Right, and we allow those things. So we speak power away from our relationships and everything, right? And then you wonder why you have such division. Thank you, brother Chef Fred.
And I want to add one more thing to that fresh air. What ages you is your blood. So if you're outside more, okay, it keeps your blood healthy, people. So please, like Calvin said, get outside and walk more. More outside activities. Let's stop hanging in the bars and stuff as much. Get out, ride a bike, walk. You know what I'm saying? Let's get outside. And then maybe we can decrease some of these health problems we have, high blood pressure, diabetes, just by sitting down, eating, drinking all day, not getting out.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask that. I'll see you, Dave, too.
Yeah, my brother. Good
appreciate
to see
that,
you.
man.
Good to hear you, I should say.
Yeah, I appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. You got yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to inject one of the things that I do. I was thinking he was talking tradition. I've done this probably last 20 years. Is that the first day of the year I walk Belle Isle, and sometimes it's bone cold out there. But I walk the whole Belle Isle and I enjoy. I have time with myself, time with God, time to think, and it's so rewarding. So this year I said instead of doing it just January the 1st, I'm going to do it also December the 31st. I'm going to end the year that way and begin the year that way.
Awesome.
Right. Well, because, again, the air, right? If you're 90% water, or whatever the percentage 67% water, well, there's a lot of oxygen in water. So people have found, studies have shown that people run further in the rain than they do in the sun. because they get oxygen from the rain, right? So this last piece I want to add to it is touch. They have, and I believe we talked about this last year, but they literally have hugging lounges.
They got quite a few things.
Yeah. Because the human spirit is, right, the things that you need to be meshed with, you're not getting. Your spirit is not being fit. So the hugging lounge, touch, hold my hand, touch my face, right? There's some things that we don't appreciate in these relationships. So this is an appreciation point for you to just go in and touch your husband or your wife's face. Just touch them, kiss them, as she said, right? Let them experience you in a space that don't have nothing to do with a deal, or you know what I mean? If you get this, you can get the booty tonight. You know what I mean? Like, let's cut that all the way out, right? But, transactional, right? But transactional. Love doesn't have to be transactional, right? It doesn't have to be, I had seen something where it was talking about would you sleep with your landlord if your landlord said you get free rent for 2 years, right? It's transactional.
A decent proposal.
Yeah, but at that process, what does that say? What does that say about your worth, your value? What does it say? What do you value, right? And if your response to that is man, I ain't got to pay rent, then money has become your God. That's and right. You will do anything for that, right? But in the relationship, your husband, your wife, the ups and downs, the conversations, the 50-50 conversation. Like, come on, man. People not even on that. When you got people on, we still talking about something from 1985. And people with 26, 27 years of stay-at-home marriages and thriving, working together. Oh, yeah, I can't do that. And you see that. This Christmas, let's just make it a practice. Let's make it a thing this Christmas, right, in our relationships to listen, to spend time, to touch, to value, to laugh, to kiss. Let's make that should I say a virtuous attempt. Right?
Experience.
You said something that was important when you said touch. Touch is so significant that through research and the various experiments they had done, that the child that didn't receive the touch either had more mental health issues, and some have even died because there was no human touch, no human connection. I was fortunate enough, and I say this because the person was amazing, to date someone who was blind. So they had to touch me to experience me, you see, and it taught me a level of sensitivity about the power of touch and what it meant. So, very important point.
Yeah, touch is it. You know what I mean?
Well,
Go ahead.
I'd like to add, touch is part of a sensory experience. So we talk about the fact that men are visual and women are emotional or require more touch or affection, and that's not a debate. What we need to move to is having sensory experiences, not only by what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we feel, all of having a sensory experience. That's another piece I think is really important in marriage, is that when you want to create an atmosphere, you want to create, I call them memory imprints. So the whole combination working together is how we experience. Like for a lot of us, it's not really, it may not necessarily be the taste, it's the smell that is the memory. For me, having a live tree at Christmas, it is the smell of the pine needles, and it's when you have a fireplace burning and the smell of wood burning, all of those kinds of things, the memory imprint, not only what you're seeing, but what you're feeling. You feel the warmth coming from that. All of these senses are alive. And the more you have that, even when you talked about taking walks in the crisp coldness of the air, the winter chill, it's still all the same. You can still see lots of beautiful scenery. You can hear your footsteps, the crunching of the ice or the snow under your feet. Like, it is a sensory experience that becomes that memory imprint that also feeds into the tradition. So it's not just the sights and sounds, it's the smells, it's the taste that pumpkin pie or or sweet potato pie, whichever you prefer. But I mean, a lot of those things, it's kind of what, when we think about the holiday season, we think about soul food. It's not just the taste of it, it's seeing it on the table. It's hearing people ooh and ah about how good that particular dish or all the dishes are, and how full you are when you engage in having that opportunity to fellowship together. For you talked about laughter, and I just want to just say that I am blessed to be a part of a musical family. So one Christmas breakfast, it was nothing but singing. It was beautiful. All these people who are gifted singers, and they're just singing. I mean, that's just a regular part of their life, but to be engaged in that, because I love music and I love live music, but to be a part of a family that's so musical and so passionate about what they sing and what they say and uplifting, it's amazing to be a part of that and have that as part of a family tradition and part of our history of a blended family. So I also just want to add that that your wishes, we talk about wishes on birthdays and wishes over candles and things like that, wish upon a star, all these wishes. One of the things they tell you is that you're not supposed to share what you wish, or your wish may not come true. So I kind of want to eliminate some of those ways of thinking and encourage you that with your mate, they should know what your wishes are. They should know that certain things matter or mean something to you, because this is how you get to the deeper spaces. This is how you get to, and I use my parents as this is how you get to forever. My parents are married over 50 years, and because my dad passed, they didn't get to their benchmark. My mother had a 75-year benchmark for their marriage, but the fact that this is what they shared together. They shared their wishes together. I wish this, or I wish for this, I wish, and they made that known to each other, but also they allowed us to share in that and what they wished for, what their hopes and dreams were, not only in their lives, but in our lives too, as their children. And so it helped us to be able to feel more comfortable shaping our wishes or the things that we envision for ourselves, and then start to move in that direction. And with your mate supporting you, moving in the direction of your wishes, and you supporting them, it's a stronger bond that's built. And those hidden expectations are also revealed in our wishes. I wish I had more of this or more of that, or I wish I could do this and do that. I wish I had my own business, my own food truck, those kind of things that you share with your mate. So allow the universe to start to bring those wishes and make them into part of your reality in the planning and the development of what you do together.
Dave, where can they reach you at?
You can reach me at David FMAM 4 Men About Me in Patterson on Facebook, and drome7@yahoo.com.
Heather?
You can reach me at yourinspiredwiththejourney.com. That's yourinspiredjourney.com. And you can also reach me by phone. You can pick up the phone and call me at 313-759-7855. Thank you.
You can reach me at calvintman.com. One of the things that this month is going to bring, and it's very clear, and it's your choice. It's not that you're going to have all the answers. But one thing is true. you can get those wishes, but it has to be under the circumstances of faith and clarity. God doesn't work in clutter. It's very difficult for God to operate in clutter. Your breathing spaces, they don't breathe when you have clutter. So if you have a cluttered mind, if you get too much, it's very difficult for God to operate. He operates in faith and clarity. And because when you know exactly what that is, God manifests. Family is the most important thing. When you start a family, when you present a family, we have made family and other things minimal. When family is the most important thing. When you come together and stay together, I've watched my family for years. When you come together, you stay together, you go through these things. Right? And when you go through these things, it's when you come out on the other end that you have an appreciation for what you've gone through. You need the obstacles. You need the scrapes. You need the cabinet to fall down. You need the garage gutter to hit the floor. You need those things, because for those things, when you fix them, correct them, and uplift them, you change the trajectory of the possibility of forever. It is how you handle those things that allow you to move closer to forever. It becomes we the day I say I do. And that is the thing that you have to cling to as a couple. Marriage is a we thing, baby. It is not a me or you. And that includes from the rooter to the tutor, from the dance to the finance to the blessings. I need to see where that money is, where it's going. I need to see everything just like you need to see everything. And in order for us to cooperate as a corporation, marriage is a we thing. My name is Dr. Calvin T. Mann. You have been listening to Put Your Family First podcast. God bless you and encourage me. I'm young. Peace.